And now I'm delighted to introduce our next conversation for the day, for the afternoon, Cheyenne Van Kooten, Global Inclusion, Diversity, and Equity Leader at Amazon Web Services, who will be joined in conversation with Leslie Zamora Murguia, Global Head of Learning and Engagement at TPG. Please join me on the stage.
Thank you so much, Natalia, for that great introduction. I'm super excited to be here. Excited to also say another Boricua from Brooklyn. It's rare to be on a stage in the same day, so always have to give a shout out to that. Super excited. So again, congratulations to the class of 2023. That's amazing. And also excited to be here with Leslie Zamora Murguia. She's the TPG Global Head of Learning and Engagement, and she spent the last 12 years in the space of leadership development, management, and education. And like me, is super passionate about creating spaces for Latinos to thrive. So we are here today. So thank you for being here, Leslie.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. So before we get started, and give my full attention. Before we get started, I wanted to do a lightning round, if that works. A fun way for us to get to know you a bit better. Okay, you ready?
Sounds good.
Awesome. So we just both got back from vacation, funny enough. I just came back from Jamaica. Anyone ever been? Yes? Okay. Highly recommend. If not, had an amazing time. Where did you go, Leslie?
I went to Austin, Texas. I'm based in Dallas, but
Nice.
I see another Tapatia. My family's from Guadalajara.
Very nice.
But I went to Austin, Texas with my family.
Awesome. Okay. I love Austin. It's a great place. Good food.
Yes.
Yes, really good food. Okay. My next one, this is a fun one. So do you take it slow on vacation or do you like to get out and do activities?
I have 3 little girls, 7, 4, and 2, that keep me very busy. So yeah, I'm in the thick of it right now.
Yeah.
So send your prayers. So we keep them busy because by 7 o'clock I want to get them like bath, book, bed. That's the routine. And then mommy has a glass of wine at 8 o'clock.
Nice.
Exactly. So we book it. It's swimming, it's hiking, it's outdoors. Austin is incredible for anybody that hasn't been. So we definitely stay busy.
Very nice. I'm totally aligned with you. I think some rest for me, but then also I just climbed Dunn's River. If anyone's ever done that, it's like climbing a waterfall. So I always like to do, challenge myself to have some fun there. But awesome. So this is my last question. It's one of my favorites. So would you prefer to be able to talk to animals or speak any language in the world?
Ooh, that's a good one. Probably speak any language in the world. I mean, I'm in human resources. There's clearly something that I have about connecting with people. And I think languages are such a beauty of a culture. My first language is Spanish, English, and then I speak French and Italian. So I guess I have 4 down so far.
Nice.
But yeah, languages, for sure.
Awesome. Wow. I'm still working on Spanish, so I clearly have some work to do. And for me, it would definitely be speak to animals. Like Dr. Dolittle was like my idol growing up, so I prefer to be out there with all the animals. So thank you for entertaining that. I thought it was a fun way for us just to connect. So let's get started. I know encouraging everyone to take time if you haven't already. I know it's the summer and we have PTO days, but I feel like oftentimes we prioritize the work. And let's also make sure, especially in the beginning of the day, being mindful to prioritize ourselves with self-care as well. So encouraging everyone to take some time this summer if you haven't already. So with that, let's just dive right in. So Leslie, I would love to talk to you a bit more about your leadership principles around learning and development. And, I've been in this space for the last 15 years in HR in various roles and wanted to find out from you, we talk about leadership. You shouldn't go into leadership without a clear understanding of like who you are and why you want to lead. So why did you choose to go into leadership? And what are some strengths that you have to be a more inclusive leader?
Yeah, I think about leadership and learning kind of in a bit of tandem. I think that learning is a part of any leader's journey, and you should never stop learning. And if you stop and reflect and think about the best leaders in the world, they are constantly reading, talking, attending conferences, networking, conectando con las personas, ¿verdad? Yeah. And it's those leaders that grow to become the most inclusive leaders, because by reading and by learning, they educate themselves, they evolve their thinking about the environment that they are in and those that they are leading, right? 10 years ago, we didn't use the term Latinx. 10 years ago, we didn't use the introductions with pronouns. those are things that people learn because they're educating themselves. And so what I focus on, and the reason why I went into learning and engagement, and what I bring to that is a lens of transparency. Because as a community, what I bring is to share that what we want isn't actually different from what anyone else wants. To me, diversity management is simply good management. There isn't a male counterpart in this earth that wants anything different than what I want. I want to be challenged in my job. I want to be fairly compensated. I want to talk about that. I want to grow. I want to be promoted. I want to be a good example. All of those things, right? And so I think it's imperative to have that lens of learning is growth, and it never stops. And that's really why I went into leadership and coaching and learning and engagement.
Awesome. That so resonates with me. My grandmother, she passed away a couple years back, but she always said, you're never too old to learn. And even in her 80s, she was still, trying to read the newspaper and, raise us in that way. So I totally relate to that piece. Great leaders are always learning, right? So I'm
it's a core piece of who we are, right? Despite whether you're Mexican, Puerto Rican, Dominican, there are two things that I guarantee you almost every single person in here heard from parents, tias, abuelitas, abuelitos of first, family, right? Second, education. We came to this country to progress. I crossed the ocean, I crossed the river, I crossed something, so you can go to that school and get a straight A. I would come home with a 95 and she's like, where's the other 5? They go walking away somewhere, go find it, right? So education, and I think that's stayed with me of it's always learning. Nobody will ever take that away from you.
Thank you so much. Definitely resonates. Absolutely. So when you think about your journey climbing up the corporate ladder, or some will say the career jungle gym, right? There's different ways that people say that. What are some challenges you face that now inform your approach to your role? And what are some lessons that you still draw upon today?
Yeah, I think one that I've definitely felt, and probably some of you in the audience can relate, is definitely the sense of imposter syndrome, no matter how senior you get. And I think of a specific example where when I took this job at TPG, it was a newly created role, which stood out for me. I was at Goldman Sachs before, know Megan, know many people here from Goldman, and there today is still not another private equity firm that has a global head of learning. And that stood out. I said, okay, these people are interested in investing in their talent in a completely different way. If I want to be a change agent, and if I want to be more than just an ally, an activist, and an advocate, I need to get into that seat. But it wasn't until I designed the first program for TPG. It was a firm partner orientation. It was my first kind of big show really to do anything. And I'm sitting in front of the new class of firm partners, the most senior leaders of TPG. And this is a firm partner orientation where the expectation is that I'm there to remind them of their leadership expectations. And I'm sitting there, actually standing in front of all of them, and I have this moment of self-doubt where I say, how am I supposed to teach them about what they're supposed to do? I haven't done that job. Who am I to tell you what to do? And those moments happen. It happens to all of us. But as that happened, I looked out in the audience, and there was somebody who was first friend, mentor, then my boss, in that order. Trailblazer for our community. Many of you know her, Anilu Vasquez-Ubari. In addition to her, also Anna Edwin, our global head of talent. And I recognize the privilege that I have to be able to have 2 diverse women ahead of me in the organization, because not many of us have that. But I see Anilu, and Anilu takes out her phone, and she's taking a picture. And I was like, she looks like the proud Tia at a wedding taking a picture. And I'm like, if she believes in me, I have to believe in me too. I was like, I'm here. You know what? TPG created this space because they wanted to invest in it. And it's on me about how big or how small I can make this seat, how impactful I can be. I live in Texas now. The Texas saying is you go big or go home. I was like, I came here to show up, and I'm going to show out. So we did that. And it was in that moment that it grounded me, and I think it really set the precedent of how am I choosing to lead in this seat? And I am now in a place in my career where the imposter syndrome is never going to go away. I'll just say that now. It's going to creep in there at some point every time, but I encourage you to reframe it and to shift your mindset. And in that moment, it was like God speaking to me in that year, because shortly after that program, I read a quote that I have referenced since then for years now that said, while you sit in self-doubt, others are intimidated by your potential. And so that was just so powerful to me. And I was like, I want to shift. And when I have those moments of self-doubt, I'd rather shift to have a growth mindset. Someone believed in me to put me here. Someone believed in me to put me on this stage. I guess I didn't mess it up. I mean, I'm still here, so we're good. But it's those little things. And so I think those are key moments that I continue to draw lessons from in how I think about designing a learning strategy of like, let's not just say sustain and maintain, let's tap into the potential. Sometimes the potential that somebody may not even see within themselves. Let's put them in the uncomfortable places because you grow from uncomfort, and let's support them and uplift them and be that person to take out the phone and say, I'm rooting for you. You got this.
Absolutely. Thank you, Leslie. Yeah, please. Definitely need a round of applause for that. I was like shaking my head, yes, because it so resonates with me. I spent 3.5 years in Silicon Valley, and the moment I got there, I was like, what am I doing here? So I totally relate to that, and I think something you hit on, summing that up, is how important representation matters, right? When we're in rooms like this, which are rare, where we see others that look like us, it makes all the difference in the world. So I really appreciate you sharing that.
Yeah, of course.
So let's go. I have a couple more questions as we kind of wrap things up. Let's talk a little bit about Latinas in the workplace, right? How can leaders here create more effective development and retention strategies for our Latinas and also other represented women, right? As we think about intersectionality and community.
Yeah.
What are some things they can do?
I think of two things. One, fair equitable compensation. Latinas earn 58 cents on the dollar. If you are in the room where it happens and those discussions are happening, advocate and push. I love Anilu, I love Anna. Anna and Anilu both have a cup in their office that says, pay me like a white man.
I need that.
Go on Etsy, get yourself that cup, but like keep that mindset. And I love it. I need to get myself one of those. But that's number one, of like equitable compensation. Number two is, I think all of you are in the rooms, you're executives, you're leaders in your organizations. You have the ability to change the narratives of how Latinas are described. And I think in order to retain us, you have to understand us. Regardless of what your heritage is, there are so many commonalities of how we are raised. We are told, calladita te ves más bonita, right? The pretty ones look better when you're quiet, right? You're told you put your head down, you work hard, you don't brag. It's all about grit, it's about determination. Kenneth touched on this greatly of like sometimes we need to calibrate because our emotion, it's not that I'm emotional, I'm passionate, right? And sometimes it's a bit of the telenovela coming out in me a little bit. But if you're in the room where somebody's being described as, oh no, she's fiery, she's spicy. No, you know what? I see executive presence. I see gravitas. I see leadership quality in her. Sure, we need to refine that, we need to calibrate, but I see a lot of potential. And so if you're in that room, change the narrative. And that didn't become crystal clear for me until I had my 3 daughters. And I'm very conscious of how do I educate them and bring them up and teach them that it's not about being the quiet one and the pretty one. At TPG, we like the loud ones, clearly. I mean, I'm not going to be quiet anytime soon. So I think it's that. If you want to retain the Latinas, change the narrative for them, support them, and fight for equitable compensation.
Absolutely. Thank you. Use your voice, right? If we have, yes, please. Let's give a round of applause for that. Yes. If you have a seat at the table, someone once said this at a panel I was at. They said, if you have a seat at the table, use it. We all have seats at the table. We wouldn't be here. How are you using it? Are you speaking up? Right. So thank you for that. So, okay, so I have one more question for you, and then we're going to wrap up for today.
Sure.
Okay. So as an Afro-Latina leader, intersectionality of Latinos is always top of mind for me. So as we think about the nuances that come across all of our awesome cultures across Latin America and the Caribbean, What is one way that leaders could create, investments in Latinos in a way that accounts for some of those unique challenges that we all have?
So I think it's Priscilla mentioned it this morning, and it resonated with me. Kenneth also mentioned this as part of his experience in mentoring, but we recognize we're not one monolithic group, and we're very proud of our heritages, but there are more commonalities than there are differences. And I have to say that I don't think that Latinos show up for each other unless it's Mexican showing up for Mexican, Boricua showing up for Boricuas. And sometimes I even see more Puerto Ricans supporting Dominicans and Cubans versus like everybody just supporting each other. And so I would encourage you to stop, reflect for a second, and think about the person that invested in you. Who took you under their wing, coached you, mentored you, told you how to dress, told you what to wear, told you how to speak, told you all of those things. Everybody is picturing somebody right now. If that person called you and said, hey, I need help with something, you would not blink an eye to do anything that you wanted them to do, right? Now, let me ask you this. How many people have you on their list? How many people have you poured yourself into to that extent to where they see you as that literally like a guardian angel? And if you don't have at least 10, 12, infinite number of names, we have some work to do. And that I think is the best way of, regardless of nationality, heritage, experience, industry, culture, languages, anything, invest and pour yourself into people to have them succeed and have that be your measure of success. Somebody becoming a unicorn founder, absolutely, that's your measure of success. If they succeed, we succeed, and I did something right.
Absolutely. Thank you, Leslie. Yeah, that's important. And we think about the theme today as conexión, right? And we are here on the stage doing that together and here in this room. So I really appreciate you sharing that. As we wrap things up for today, you said so much. So I'm just going to summarize. I think the 3 takeaways that I'm taking for myself, and hope everyone will as well, is the importance of learning, continuing to learn as a leader. Right? The pay me as a white man, I'm definitely taking that. I love that, right? Like, I think for me, I've always struggled speaking up, and especially when it comes to like negotiating salary. So I love that idea. And again, we all have we all have seats at the table. So I encourage us to be thinking about that, especially for Latinas, let's use our voice. Absolutely. And then, the aspect of, who are we speaking up for, right? Remembering the intersectionality, remembering that conexión that we all have together. So with that, I just want to thank you so much, Leslie. Let's please give her a round of applause.
Thank you for having me.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Thank you.